In this Clash of the Titan video, we have Microsoft Pro Elite Controller, as this is the second generation of the Elite Core 2 against Sony's latest answer to the Pro Controller lineup. And this is what they came up with, the Dualsense Edge wireless controller. But it does cost a lot more than Microsoft Elite Core 2. Whereas the most fully loaded version of the Elite Core 2 retails for just $180. And then, if you don't need all the bells and whistles, you don't care so much about the travel case, the charging dock, you don't need the paddles, you can actually buy these all separately and save a lot of money, especially if you just need 2 paddles instead of a full 4. So you can actually settle with the regular Series 2 Core White, which basically is just a bare bone. You have the high quality Elite controller, you just don't have all the accessories. You can always just buy these separately, either first party or even some third parties. And this controller just sells for about $130 and typically always goes on sale. At the time making this video, it's actually $115. And for my honest opinion, with a little bit of spoilers, this is probably the best value gaming pro controller available in the market. That's a first party. But once we compare it against all 3 of these controllers, each controller has pros and cons. But all 3 of these share very similar features. So even though, yes, this comparison may seem kind of odd to some, but in reality, it actually is a very valid comparison, especially if you're a PC gamer and you're just trying to find the best handheld pro controller available in the market. Or maybe you're using an adapter on a different console that allows you to actually make this controller compatible on a PlayStation, Xbox, or to throw something random, an NES, you know what I mean. So yes, it does seem like we're comparing apple to oranges, but in reality, this is the Pro lineup, and this is the reality. Now, since the PlayStation DualSense Edge is the new one that just got recently released, I already have a couple of complaints. This is the most expensive Pro controller on our table right now. And unlike the Elite 2, it's missing a lot of features, in my opinion. Yes, you do have the capability to adjust the 3 different levels on the trigger sensitivity if you wanted less travel to constantly be responsive. Yes, you do have that freedom. You do have the capability to switch the little joysticks with other joysticks that they have, but unfortunately it only has these round curved edges instead. You don't have the traditional like PlayStation 5 improvements joystick grip that you see right here, because these are fixed at this one length. The Xbox Elite actually provide additional styles, so it actually gives you a little bit more grips to choose from. In addition to that, the Xbox is actually using aluminum with magnets, and the magnetic strength that it has is pretty powerful. This is using a hard plastic, which, being hard plastic, over time, I'm pretty sure if you're a user that constantly switches between grips, it's not going to handle wear and tear very well. In the near future, it could be pretty loose. Now, I can't say the same thing to magnets. Magnets do lose their strength during like a couple of decades, but again, that's a couple of decades. They don't really lose their strength all in 1 year. And then the travel case on the PlayStation 5 controller is noticeably larger than the Xbox, so this is kind of challenging to travel with, as you can see. But I do like the fact that the texture is the same PlayStation 5 controller texture that it's made out of, so the external shell is pretty strong. In addition to that, I do like the fact there is a pass-through capability back here, which allows you to actually plug in the PlayStation 5 controller like so. But the thing is, the Elite also has this, and in addition to that, you can actually do it wirelessly, so you don't actually physically have to plug in your controller to the PlayStation 5, as this dock does come included, and it's standard for the Elite 2. I wish personally they included a wireless charging dock, like custom made for this case in particular, so I don't have to actually purchase another accessory for the PlayStation 5 controller, like the docking station. I wish, yeah, it came with something similar to the Xbox, as well as additional paddles. And speaking of paddles, on the back here, I do like how PlayStation 5 did try to re-engineer the paddle shifter back here, the paddle buttons I should say, not paddle shifters. I call them paddle shifters. Comment in the comment section, let me know which one sounds better. But I do like these like domes. They're actually pretty responsive, but the only con is there's only support for 2. That's the thing. Meanwhile, on the Xbox, you do have the capability to add 2 or 4 if you're really good when it comes to multitasking. So you don't have to actually take out your finger off the trigger to toggle a different button to throw a grenade or something like that. But PlayStation does give us like a very lengthy cable. This is 9.5 feet. And they also provide this locking mechanism, which makes me wonder why this locking mechanism is really here for. Well, in harsh reality, the battery life on the PlayStation 5 Dualsense Edge is a lot smaller than the standard PlayStation controller. I've seen people being able to average about 4 to 6 hours, which isn't really that great, especially when you compare it against Microsoft built-in battery on both of these two controllers, as they're advertised to be able to last up to 40 hours. And from my personal real-world test and experience with both of these controllers, I'm easily able to get like a whole month worth of battery life out of both of them without having to charge. Meanwhile, with the PlayStation 5, I already charged them a couple of times. And this locking mechanism, one more time, I play hardwire sometimes with my Elite controller. And I don't know what's the point of this locking mechanism, because I'm not a child. I'm not going to accidentally pull this off or make sure some idiot doesn't walk in front of me and trip. The PlayStation lock thing is honestly kind of pointless. Although it's fun to swing around and probably like climb a building or something like that, but I'm sure that's not what this thing is made for. And then when it comes to weight, all three of them actually weigh surprisingly very similar. Now, the PlayStation 5 controller does have the function button right here, which basically doesn't really do much aside from giving you quick access to your multi-menu, which allows you to quickly select between 4 different profiles on the controller, or go to the controller settings and adjust everything, which both of these controllers do have some type of software support in the built-in console OS. With the Xbox Elite controller, however, you could find this same exact support compatible on every Windows computer that's on the latest version of Windows OS. And unlike the PlayStation 5, you can only create custom profiles. On the Xbox, you can actually customize that controller LED light and assign it to that profile, so it's easier to identify what profile is which based off the LED light. If only PlayStation allowed us to actually customize it in that sense as well, that would have been really cool. But that's just me trying to really nitpick. So in conclusion, me personally, if I can only pick one, I'll actually pick the Elite 2. Due to the fact that it costs less and also is able to deliver much more. Better quality materials, more goodies on attachments and stuff, especially on the joystick, and it's compatible to both OSs. But that's not really a fair playing field, so I'm going to exclude that. But if I'm a consumer, I'm just looking for a pro controller, this is compatible on not just the Xbox, you can also use this on your Windows computer. Meanwhile, the PS5, you're going to have to go through some loopholes, but it is indeed possible to make this compatible on a Windows computer as well. But excluding the OS side, I still would choose the Xbox controller, especially if you're more familiar with this joystick layout. To me, it's more comfortable. I've been exposed to this joystick layout ever since the GameCube days, so for somebody with similar background, you may want to choose the Xbox Elite or the PS5. But if Sony is your go-to, your main two when it comes to multiplayer and gaming, especially if you're really competitive, the advantages with the toggles in the back really will give you a benefit. And I personally just use 2 pedals at the same time. So if you also use 2 pedals at the same time while you're gaming, you might be better off with the PS5. Just know it has less battery life, significantly less battery life compared to the Elite controller. And unfortunately, you get a little bit less. This is PlayStation doing. I wish they actually made the playing field even or more competitive or better than the Xbox Elite by offering more. But I like the fact that you can replace the joysticks. So if one does begin to phantom drift, this part just pops out, and this is technically modular. The Elite, if something happens to the joysticks, you're going to have to actually take the entire controller apart and manually solder or remove one of these joysticks. But from a user who actually owns the very first generation Xbox Elite controller, this one still works perfectly fine. Just the grip, the glue came off, so this came apart. But there's no phantom drift on the controller. Microsoft is indeed using the high quality joysticks to prevent any drifting problems from occurring. So if you're concerned about that, it's very unlikely it's going to happen. Meanwhile, the PlayStation, again, they give you the option to remove or replace the joystick, which costs about $20, I believe, on their website. That's what this empty gap is right here on the case. And so you can actually put another one right here, so you can actually switch on the go. It's pretty nice that PlayStation gave us that freedom. And then, of course, if you don't really care, you just want the high quality stuff, the trigger, the regular Core 2 is very advanced in its own way, because the joystick itself, you can actually adjust the tension right here, as the tool is indeed provided. PlayStation 5 Dualsense Edge controller does not have a feature like this. It's all through software. This is through software and physically. It's another thing I almost forgot to mention. Aside from that, there you guys have it. That is a quick comparison against all three of these Pro controllers. Now, you let me know in the comment section, what's your thoughts? What do you want to share that might help others decide when it comes to between these three controllers? I'd like to hear your feedback as well in the comment section. Aside from that, thank you so much for watching. Take care, and I'll catch you all in the next one. See ya.